This is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Now let's dive in. The story kicks off in the ruthless and lawless streets of Rotterdam, where if you're not rich, you're either running a con or being conned. It's ruled by merchant kings, ruthless gang leaders, and people who would literally sell their own souls for a few krooj. At the heart of this city is Kaz, a criminal prodigy known as Dirty Hands, feared for his ability to get anything done for the right price. He runs the Drags, a gang of misfits who hang out in a casino called the Crow Club. He carries a level of resentment so deep that it fuels all of his life choices, but we'll get to the reason for that later. Kaz is approached by Jan van Eyck, a wealthy merchant who gives him a job that sounds completely insane. Break into the Ice Court, one of the most impenetrable fortresses in the world, and extract a high-value prisoner. The target? Bo Yulbeyer, the scientist who discovered a powerful variation of the street drug called Jordaparem, a substance that enhances a Grisha's magic to terrifying levels, making them nearly unstoppable. The problem is that it's wildly addictive though, and after a single dose, users crave more with an all-consuming need that turns them into nothing more than puppets wanting the next fix. Van Eyck offers Kaz a hefty paycheck, which Kaz haggles up to 30 million krooj. But Kaz isn't stupid, because he knows this mission is far from simple, so when he accepts his job, he gets a crew to pull it off. But not just any ordinary street criminals. He gets the best in the business, because each of these people is totally chaotic in their own way. Meet the crew. First, we have Inej Intro, Kaz's top spy and the one person he actually trusts. Kind of. She was raised as an acrobat, traveling with her family, but one day she was kidnapped and sold to a pleasure house before Kaz bought her contract and gave her a new life. With the Drags, she can climb anything stealthily and move unseen, making her essential for this job. Next up, we've got Jesper, our sharpshooter, a gambler with a quick mouth and an even quicker draw. He came to Rotterdam for university, but ended up gambling. What he doesn't tell anyone though, except Kaz, is that he's secretly Grisha, a fabricator to be specific, and that's basically somebody who can manipulate matter. Something that'll come in super handy a little bit later. Then, we've got Wylan van Eyck, the runaway demolitions expert. Wylan is the son of Jan van Eyck, the same merchant hiring Kaz for this job. He grew up rich, well-educated, with tutors and privilege, but he ran away. Why? Because his father hated him for being illiterate. Kaz quickly realized Wylan's talents with explosives and demolitions were too good to waste. Plus, Wylan is leverage because if things go south, Kaz is a way to control Van Eyck. The last two have a complicated history, starting with Matthias Intro, the Brute. He knows his way around the prison, so his insight and skills would be invaluable. He was a feared and holy warrior called a Druskel, trained to hunt and kill Grisha witches. On one of his runs, he captured a Grisha named Nina. When they're shipwrecked on the way back to Fjerda, the two enemies were forced to work together to survive the brutal cold for 3 good weeks. They slowly bonded over those weeks, but after that, Nina turned around and betrayed him and had him thrown in prison by cursed traders. Then of course, our last member is Nina, a powerful Grisha heartrender. She was a Grisha soldier in training when one day she was captured by a group of Fjerdan soldiers, including Matthias. When she and Matthias finally returned to civilization after their shipwreck, she was recognized by Grisha soldiers. She knew Matthias would be in trouble for being with her, a Grisha, so she told them he was a slave trader to have him arrested and taken away from those who might hurt him. After she was sure he'd be safe, she tried to fix things, but they wouldn't let her. So this entire time, she was working to try to save money to buy Matthias's freedom as Pekka Rollins' employee. Oh, you should probably know about Pekka Rollins. He's obviously not part of the crew, but he's the reason for Kaz's need for vengeance. As a child, when Kaz's parents died, Rollins stole the inheritance meant for him and his brother Jordi. When a plague hit Rotterdam, they had nothing and they were condemned as dead, thrown into a pile of bodies on the ship for corpses. Kaz had to use his brother's body as a buoy to help him swim back to shore, and since that time he wore gloves to avoid feeling human touch again. Kaz wants the money so badly because he wants to take Rollins' empire down and get revenge for how his life was ruined. Kaz breaks Matthias out of the prison, and when the crew is fully assembled, Kaz gets them passage to Fjerda aboard the Ferroland, an unassuming trade ship. But before they even get to leave Rotterdam, they're attacked. Someone leaked their mission. Inej gets stabbed and Kaz does not take it well. He tracks down their attacker, gouges out his eye in interrogation, and learns that Pekka Rollins is also after the scientists. So the stakes just got higher. Inej, wounded but alive, is patched up by Nina and her heart-rending powers. The crew then boards the Ferryland, setting sail for Fjerda. Kaz is more determined than ever to get there first. They get to a place where they find 3 dead Grisha displayed outside the city. Nina and Matthias stay back to bury them, and there they agree that if they get Yulbyr, they're gonna double-cross Kaz and kill Yulbyr. Why? Because Matthias doesn't want the Grisha to have the power Djerholm can give them. Nina, on the other hand, doesn't want the harm Djerholm would do to her people. After that, they rejoin the rest of the group, and then they all arrive to the colorful city of Djerholm, the Fjerdan capital, and Kaz lays out the plan. Get in by disguising themselves as prisoners. They intercept a transport wagon, switch places with the prisoners, and let themselves get captured. Once inside, the team is separated. Kaz, Jesper, and Matthias, and Wylan, are sent to the men's prison, and Nina and Inej are taken to the women's sector. Now, it's revealed that Jesper is Grisha when he creates metal lockpicks on the spot. The team agree that they're all supposed to meet in the incinerator room, and then they split ways when Kaz and Nina go searching for Yulbyr. Along the way, Nina comes across a Grisha torture room, panics, and then runs. She then bumps into 2 guards, but as she's taking them down, the one guard falls down the stairs and his gun discharges. Keep that in mind. Inej was supposed to climb through the incinerator because Matthias remembered it as only being turned on in the afternoon and not in the morning. But turns out that they changed the schedule, so our incinerator was on, and our girl had to literally crawl through a scalding hot incinerator that ends up melting the soles of her shoes. She lays a rope down for the others, but Jesper waits for Kaz, who'd gotten carried away on a side quest to get even with Pekka Rollins. He finally shows up in the nick of time, bloody, and most importantly, late. So, remember those gunshots? That's all it took for the Fjerdan healer protocol to get triggered, so now the whole ice court is on alert. With the original plan no longer being an option, Kaz improvises. Inej and Nina would have to sneak in disguised as menagerie girls using stolen dresses and fake ID. Kaz and Matthias would take another route, crossing an ice moat using the hidden glass bridge that Matthias learned about during his Driscoll training. Jesper and Wylan would go in from above, accessing the ice court's roof and opening the main gate from the inside. It's a desperate shift, but it's not the only move they have. They're trying here, people, okay? Anyway, since it's a Fjerdan holiday, the ladies manage to blend in pretty well as entertainers, until they have to go past security where the guards recognize Inej's tattoo, so they pull her to the side a bit, leaving Nina to go in alone. Nina is a natural at the role though, flirting her way past the guards. Meanwhile, Kaz and Matthias move beneath the surface, crossing the frozen moat and then finally using Kaz's lockpicking skills and Matthias's insider knowledge to make it inside. There, they knock out some guards and steal their uniforms to blend in with the crowd. While the others make their way in, Jesper and Wylan work hard to clear the interviews, when all of a sudden, an alarm rings. The ice court initiates Black Protocol. The pressure keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Nina, now working alone, searches for someone drunk to spill some valuable info on where boy Yulbyr is, when she runs into Djerholm, Matthias's former boss and the man who once tried to kill her. He was supposed to have died in that shipwreck she and Matthias survived, but because he looks like he has forgotten her, Nina zeroes in on him as her target. Eager to show off, Djerholm tells her he can show her a real Grisha prisoner, and she follows him all the way to this room, which turns out to be a trap. Yeah, you heard that right. When they get there, Nina gets locked into one of the cells right before Matthias steps up. Djerholm had known who she was all along, and Matthias had double-crossed her, even telling Djerholm that she would be a perfect subject for Djerholm. Vile. Absolutely vile. Djerholm then tells him that he can get his Driscoll position back, but he starts to realize that they had been running experience on convicted Grisha for a long time now, and that even though he'd wanted revenge on Nina, it hurt to see her in prison. So after learning where they're keeping Yulbyr, he turns on Djerholm and locks him away in a cell. With Djerholm out of the picture, Matthias and Nina find Bo Yulbyr's son, Kuwe Yulbo, because as it turns out, Yulbyr is dead. But it's all good though, because Kuwe knows his father's formula for the drug, so they kidnap him instead. The team quickly regroups just in time for the entire ice court to go on even higher alert. The crew plummets into an icy moat using Kaz's underwater breathing gadgets to survive. When they surface, they're surrounded by Fjerdan soldiers, led by some Grisha that are high on Djerholm. Seeing how bad the situation is, Nina makes a dangerous choice. She takes the Djerholm and she is literally able to take all of them out, starting with the Djerholm Grisha, and then the Druskal army that was dressed in armor protecting them from Grisha influence. After that, the crew gets on their ship and Nina suffers heavily from withdrawal. Matthias is by her side the whole entire time though, which, we always knew was a sweetheart. From out the blue, Nina tells Inej that with her heightened senses, she can hear Kaz's breath catch each time he looks at her. And no, I'm not gonna start squealing, but anyway, when Kaz gets some alone time with Inej, he asks her what she wants to do with the money. Like the money they're gonna win from all of this. And then she tells him she wants to go sailing on a ship. He asks her to stay with him instead, to which she responds that he needs to shed his armor or she won't have him at all. Which, yes queen. After that, he doesn't respond and well. Meanwhile, Jesper feels guilty for not taking the drug himself because he's also a Grisha. He could have taken it and done the same thing that Nina did. As he's wondering about that though, he also starts to think, where the heck is Carmen Sandiego? Sorry, just kidding. Where's Wylan? He hadn't seen him since that mission. When they get to the shore, he goes out to meet with Van Eyck along with Kaz and their prisoner, when they soon find that they've been duped. He has the money for them, but he brings flying Grisha high on Djerholm and tells them that he's gonna kill all of them and destroy the Fairyland. Kaz, always 2 steps ahead, tells Van Eyck that his son Wylan is still on the ship. Imagine his surprise when Van Eyck casually informs him that he doesn't care about Wylan because his son Wylan is illiterate, so he's always been ashamed of him and doesn't care what comes of him. Kaz still has a trick up his sleeve, which, sorry, can we just go back to that and say, it's a little cold. Okay, alright, moving on. Kaz still has a trick up his sleeve though, because the prisoner isn't actually Kuwei, it's Wylan. Van Eyck then tells the Grisha to kill everyone but Kaz, when Kaz makes one crucial mistake. He quickly cuts to look at Inej. Then Van Eyck realizes Kaz's big weakness. It's Inej. So he kidnaps Inej, takes the money and flees, right after telling them that if they don't bring Kuwei within a week, Inej will be tortured. Needless to say, Kaz is not happy, and when Kaz is not happy, he doesn't get sad, he gets even. So he visits Pekka Rollins to ask for some funding, saying he owed him because he'd allowed Pekka to live back at the ice court, and after Pekka agrees to give him the support, Kaz leaves the bar. He realizes though, Pekka, that he is missing everything valuable that was on his person, like his pocket watch, his wallet, his tie pin, his coin pendant, and the gold buckles on his shoes. Literally, Kaz stole everything from this guy. Pekka vows to kill Kaz if Van Eyck doesn't do it. And so that is the end. That's 6 of Crows. Set us up for a good duology, a good second book that comes with the Crooked Kingdom. I hope you all enjoyed this summary. So somebody described this as like Ocean's 11 for like the YA fantasy crowd, and I couldn't agree more. I think this book is perfect for anybody who likes heists, anybody who likes morally great characters, anybody who likes high stakes. This book is perfect for you. So yeah, go ahead and like, share, subscribe, and let me know in the comment section what you think I should cover next, which book you think is interesting that you would love to see as an animated summary of sorts. Bye!